episode 23 of All the Stitches. My name is Colleen and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. This is a channel about my quilting, knitting, needlework, and whatever crafty thing I might be up to on any given day. It's been a month since my last confession or video, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding as things open up, the world opens up, we're able to see friends and visit with family, and my quilt guild has started, and my weekly stitch and chat has started, and I seem to have a whole block of doctors and dentist appointments and so forth. I seem to have a lot less time for crafting and creating these videos, but I've had you on my mind. But I do have enough finishes today to show you those, as well as some WIPS that I'm currently working on. Today's video will be about knitting, counter cross stitch, quilting, and I think that's it. But before I head into that, I'm going to tell you a little story because it was on my mind today. And we're friends, right? So I can tell you this story. And if you don't want to hear this story, just fast forward a little bit until you see some project up on the screen. Then you'll know it's safe to come back. Probably 35, 40 years ago, I went to one of those big craft shows, booth after booth of all different crafts, and you can basically spend the whole day there. And, I was young, I was in my 20s. I had just bought a new jersey that I loved, and it was this sort of a mustard yellow background, and it had a horizontal, sort of an Aztec-like stripe to it, design to it, and with dark navy and red and whatever the colors were. I just thought it was really pretty. I liked it. It looked cool with jeans. I was young. I was thin. I could wear horizontal stripes, the whole thing. So anyway, I went into this craft festival, and I think it was around the first row of booths. I went in, and I was admiring somebody's handmade jewelry, and I was in the booth, and after a couple of minutes, the woman who I assumed to be the craftswoman who made this jewelry came up to me and she said, "That color looks terrible on you." And, I was young. I was taught to be polite, a polite person, right? Like so many of us. And I was taken aback. I didn't know what to say. I had this nice new jersey that I had bought at Jordan Marsh before Jordan Marsh was Macy's. I miss them, as well as Filene's. And I was really taken aback. I didn't know what to say to this. And I really liked my jersey, but I didn't defend myself. I don't remember if I said anything. I just kind of stood there in shock that someone could be so rude. And I continued because I was a polite young woman, and I continued to look at her jewelry, or at least kind of pretend to, because I think I looked but I didn't see. And after a few minutes, she came up to me and she said to me, "I probably shouldn't have said that." And by then I had built up enough anger, maybe, that I said to her, "Yeah, it probably wasn't good for your business." And I turned on my heels and walked out the door, or walked out of her booth. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you that story today, that has nothing to do with anything I'm going to talk about today, is that I bought this shirt, this yellow shirt, probably about a year ago. But before then, I hadn't bought anything yellow or gold since that woman said those words to me. And she was that was the era of the people that were doing your color charts. They would come to your house, you would pay them money for them to tell you what colors you should wear and not wear. And, so it was the thing then. And I don't care, all these years later, if someone said that to me today, I'd probably say, "Oh, thank you for telling me." Or I'd say, "You're an extremely rude person, aren't you?" But do you know, as much as I say I don't care, Like I said, this is the first yellow thing that I have bought in all these years. And every single time I put this shirt on, I think of that woman and I think of that comment. So nothing to do about anything. I'm only telling you the lesson is wear whatever color you want to wear. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. So now I'll move on from that crazy story to tell you what I have finished over this last month. And the first thing is a knitting project. And it is my wrinkled up old piece of paper here that is the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. And I'm sure all you knitters are familiar with this. It's a top-down sweater, and in this case it's made with holding a mohair yarn together with a fingering weight yarn, which is what I did. So here is, here is my Love Note sweater, all done. I'm not modeling it because it is hot and mohair is hot, but I was really pleased with myself. I'm not much of a lace knitter. I find that I just don't have the concentration for it, but believe me, there are mistakes here, but they don't really show that much. So the mohair is very forgiving, and it's actually surprised me to be as lightweight as it is. I think it will be wearable. I did not crop it very much. I lengthened it because I don't really like a crop sweater. Here is the yarn that I used. Oh, excuse me for the noise. Crinkle, crinkle. Here is the mohair. More crinkles. And here is the fingering weight. And I think they make a really pretty fabric blended together. The yarn is from, I don't know how to pronounce it, Olann. And it is, the mohair is Kid Silk Mohair, 28% silk, and 72% kid mohair. It is lace weight. And the color is Broken Promise. The other one, the fingering weight, is, I could have been better prepared for you. The fingering weight is a 100% superwash merino, and the color is Drizzle. I thought it was really pretty, a nice combination, and I think I have enough of this Drizzle to make a pair of socks or something with it, which is great. My second finish is a kind of cross-stitch project I've shown before on this podcast, but it is fully finished now. And that is this pattern, which I know is very hard to see, but it's called Generosity, and it's from the Drawn Thread. I did have it framed because it was kind of an odd size for me to try to deal with. And here it is. Sorry about the light on it. Little lamb, my gentle friend, gives up his coat as snows begin to make my mittens, scarf, and hat, and I stay warm because of that. For those that do kind of cross stitch, I put this on, I believe, 16 count, or I think it might have been 18 count Aida, and I used mostly the called for colors, but I started in the center, and the called for colors were mostly, I found, this darker green, a very pale green, a very pale yellow, and an ecru. And I found as I started that it was getting a little bit lost. So I added, and the lettering was blue. So I added more blue to this piece. I made the birds blue jays, and I made the house blue. And I added a little more blue here and there, and as well as I added some gray, I added the pink in the scarf, and I just tried to spread the colors out a little bit so it didn't look like it was an afterthought, even though it was. But I'm really happy with this. I'm glad I got it framed. She obviously put it in a double mat, and I think it really brought out the blue. Finally, I've had this put aside for a long time because I didn't want to go to the framer until the world felt a little more safe, and I didn't know what, whether or not she was open. But anyway, this is finally done, fully finished, and ready to hang. I think next winter I'll hang this. A couple things about the Love Note sweater. One is it's interesting to see how people are styling it because of it being cropped, because of it being so open here in the yoke. And I gave that a lot of thought for my body type and my whatever my style might be. But I came across something that I thought it would be pretty over a dress. And I see a lot of people wear it with either high-waisted pants, which I don't think is that good for me, or also a full skirt or a dress with fullness. And I came across this pattern for a very simple dress. It's called the Montana dress. I cannot find a company name on this, so I'm sorry about that. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description box below. But I thought it would be a simple dress that I could wear under this sweater, that the sweater would probably come to just below where it gathers there, and we'll see how that looks on me. I'll give it a try. And I found some fabric online, and I consider myself lucky that it was a really good match. But I found this. It's kind of a taupey, and that's exactly how the yarn turned out to be, sort of the pink hue, but a grayish taupe look to it. And so that's what I was looking for. So didn't I find this on fabric.com? And it has that pink, it has that gray, it has that taupe to it. And I think it's a nice match. So hopefully, I don't sew a lot of clothing, but I used to. But I'm going to go ahead and try that dress. And then I'll have a dressy outfit for what? I don't know, because I don't really go anywhere dressy. But you never know when you might. And the most exciting thing about my Love Note sweater being done is I got to check off another box on my Make 9 for 2021. So you can see, we'll have a progress check as long as I'm here. I have finished 2 out of the 3 sweaters for 2021. The vanilla sweater is sort of a sheepy yarn, so I'm going to wait until the weather's cooler to do that. I have also finished 2 of the 3 kind of cross-stitch or needlework projects on my Make 9 list. All right, quilting is where I'm lagging behind. But this sampler from the Patches of Blue book, I am working on that, as some of you know, as a block of the month. So I'm making progress on that. My George and Gracie portrait, I have started, and I'm going to show you my progress a little bit later. However, the what is it called? Pinehurst quilt. No, I haven't made any progress, but it's only, what is it? It's only July. Whatever. So that brings me to my WIPS, and I have a few things going on here. So I will get right into it. I will start first with the progress for my Patches of Blue 2018 Stitch Along, or Quilt-along, I guess she called it, from Laundry Basket Quilts. So this quilt has been broken down to monthly installments, and I have kept up. I'm through July. I don't think I showed you June, which was this block. This block is called Shimmering Snow in the Patches of Blue book. I love this block. I could definitely see this as a whole quilt. I think that would be a fun quilt. And then my July, let's turn my page here. I've been keeping this journal for every month, making notes and things about what's going on in the world as I make this quilt. So July is the Pinetree blocks. So I had to make 2 of those stitched together. And so that's it for June and July. August is going to get interesting because August is not so easy. It is this. She called it Shining Star. It's basically a Lone Star traditional pattern. The piecing may be interesting on that. And September is a feathered star block. And these 2 blocks are bigger. They're about 20 inches. She called that First Flakes. Things are going to get harder before they get easier. But I'm determined. And for those who maybe haven't seen this before, this is hopefully the end result. This is what I'm going for. Hopefully I'll have all the blocks done by the end of the year. So I'm going to run through the rest of my WIPs and mix them up a little bit. I first have some socks in my watermelon bag that I made for a nice summery project bag. And I'm using this yarn, which looks like watermelons. It is a Regia Tutti Fruiti cotton color yarn, and I believe the color is watermelon. This was an on-the-go project that I was working on in a car for many hours. Yes. And I wanted to make a sort of an ankle sock, so I decided to not mess with the heel or anything. I just made a tube, and then I'm going to go back and add the heels after I'm done with the second sock, which is making progress very slowly. But I love that. I love the yarn. I think it's so cute and summery. And it is a cotton blend, which is really a nice, I didn't think I would like it very much, but I really, really like it. It's spongy. It's unlike a lot of cotton yarns that I've seen. My next project that I'm working on is called the Festive Cowl. This came from the Knot House. They sell yarn, and I guess they have patterns. And this came out, I believe, last winter as a pattern. And her yarn for it is, here's Knot House Yarns, excuse me. And they're fingering weight yarns. Here's the cowl, the beginnings of the cowl. Isn't it pretty? It reminds me of a Christmas tree with lights on it. And it's a really pretty stripe. I don't even know if you'd call it stripe. The changes happen very quickly. But it creates, against this dark green, it creates these flashes of light, really. And there's so many colors in this yarn. I think it's really pretty, and it's soft. Here's the green. And so the green is called Spruce It Up. And it really is a nice spruce color. And the colorful yarn is called Christmas Cactus. I don't know if it's still available. Like I said, it came out around last Christmas. But I'm so glad I picked this up. And it's a really nice, it's only a 3-row repeat. So it's a nice, sort of a nice cleanser between sweaters or between bigger projects. And that's what I've been really enjoying doing over this last year. It's in a bag that I made. I believe this was my first project bag that I ever made. And it's perfect. It's the perfect size for it. So now I'm going to jump to the needlework that I've been working on. And yes, I know you've seen it before, but I'm going to show it to you again. I've made progress on my Black Lab needlepoint. That was a hand-painted canvas by Barbara Russell. And it is slow going, very slow going. But I do have the face, I have the background done, all the leaves. I have the face of the dog all done. I'm sorry, it's messy. And I'm working on the ear. And then I have all that neck to do. But it's Oh, and the tongue, the big old dog tongue I have to do as well. But it's progress, and I think he's looking pretty good. I had some trouble figuring out which grays I was supposed to use and all that shading, but I think it's getting there. I did take a break from it. I took a break for Jolly July. So happy Christmas in July, everybody. And stashed away in my cute little project bag. I wish I could tell you who made it. She should have put a tag on it. I purchased it on Etsy. But I've been working on the 2019 Prairie Schooler Santa. So I've made some progress on him as well. I still have the lettering to do. And what else? Oh, and just the outline. So that's it. Maybe I'll even finish this today. I think I'm going to do what I did with my crafty Santas, the panel of 3 different Santas that were, one was quilting, one was knitting, one was sewing. I put them together in a quilted banner. And I think with this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I have another Santa that I completed a while ago that is a Santa with a deer, a reindeer. Not a reindeer, but a deer. And then I think I'll do a third one with another animal theme, and I'll put them together as a banner too. I really enjoy doing that. This was done on 14 count Aida, and I did it even though I don't really love this fabric. It's a little too open, but I did it because the other Santa that I finished with the deer is also on the same fabric. So I'll just stick with that for now. But and then I just use the suggested DMC colors. I use 3 strand, which is better coverage than 2, though I really dislike working with 3 strand. But there you have it. My Jolly July. My final WIP is my quilted portrait of my lovely chocolate labs, George and Gracie, who are now both gone. I finally got myself motivated to get started on that. It's in progress, and there will be a lot of changes made along the way. And I was going to hold it and show you, but I think it's going to be way too hard to show you in this small space. It's pinned up on a board. So I'm going to insert a photo of my progress to date of George and Gracie. And as I put it up here, I'll tell you that is George on the left and it is Gracie on the right. And I've tried to capture their personalities in their faces. Gracie had a sweetness. She had those big eyes. I call them her meatball eyes. And she would look up at you with those eyes. So I exaggerated her big eyes in this case. George was more of a sleepy, but also a very sweet boy. And so I tried to capture his gentleness. This is a typical pose for them. It was going to be her choice. So she was just taking it away from him. And it's funny that this is the first photo we had of them, because this was taken at the shelter when we adopted them when they were 8 years old. And it's still, even though we have a million pictures of them, it is still the best picture of them because it so perfectly displays their personalities. But anyway, here you have a sneak preview of my George and Gracie portrait quilt, and you'll be seeing a lot more of it later as well, maybe I won't show it to you until it's finally done, but there'll be a lot of changes and additions made to it. Well, now it's time for what jumped into my cart, except it didn't really jump into my cart. I just wanted to show you something that I won, and I won this yarn, which is from Lumberjack Yarns. And it is a sock weight yarn or a fingering weight yarn called Lilies in Bloom. I won this as part of the Carla Knits podcast. She had a striped, self-striping yarn knit along or make along. and you could enter what you were working on, and then she picked a number, and I was one of the lucky winners. So it's a really soft, squishy yarn from Lumberjack Yarn, and I don't often win things, so I was very excited, wanted to share that with you. And now it's time for something old. Well, today's something old is something that I've had for many years. How am I going to show this to you? Well, it is an antique quilt top. Obviously, you're not going to see all of it, but this is, you know, this is all that there is. There were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 25 basket blocks put together into this quilt top with these beautiful dark blues. In case you can't see the color, they are dark navy blues, all blue and white prints. And I don't date quilts. I'm not sure. I suppose I could spend some time online trying to figure it out, but I haven't done that. And but I've had this for so long, and I really just sort of fold it up and might throw it over a piece of furniture or something. That's all I've done. I did wash them. It's not in the best condition. It does have some staining, but I think I love having this, and I don't think I'll ever finish it. I know a lot of people like to finish old quilts. I just kind of like to leave them as they are. In this case, it was, for those who interested, it was put together in an interesting way, and I almost think that perhaps one person started them and somebody else started, tried to finish them. But the basket piecing was done by hand, and then the handles were sewn on. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the handles were sewn on by a fine machine stitch. And then the blocks were sewn together by machine. But they weren't sewn together very well. Now, I think the piecing was done really well, very accurately. But the rest of it, or the piecing of the blocks, weren't done that accurately. And, they tended to be sort of different, slightly different sizes, and they weren't trimmed to size, so they didn't fit together. But no attempt was really made at trying to fit them together. But I don't care. Like I say, I'm not going to try to finish it. I enjoy it just the way it is. And but if anybody has any suggestions, maybe you've finished old quilts. I think it's sturdy enough that if I wanted to, I could take the blocks apart and try to put them back together again. But it's not something that's high on my list. But tell me if you have had any experience with that, or what do you think? Would you try to make a finished quilt out of it, or would you just be happy to lay it out on a chair and look at it once in a while? Let me know in the comments below. Well, thank you for watching today. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for coming back, listening to my crazy story about my yellow shirt, and checking out what I'm doing. If you're a new subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me a chance and watching this today, and I hope you're all well. I hope you're enjoying that the world is opening a little bit, and maybe we don't have as much time for crafting, but we do have time for spending time with people that we love. Please be careful, please get vaccinated, and please take care of yourselves. And I hope all of your stitches bring joy. Till next time, bye-bye.